Welcome to Toxic from Reddit, where real toxic relationship stories come to life. Here you'll hear true stories from people who experience toxic relationships from different perspectives. Partners dealing with cheating, manipulation, gaslighting, red flags, and all the emotional chaos that comes with loving someone who hurts you. Stories of betrayal, of finding strength to leave, of discovering the truth, of heartbreak, of healing, and the raw reality of toxic love. This is a real story, shared anonymously on Reddit. Some details have been changed to protect the identity of the people involved. Hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I'm 29 years old and I live in Portland, Oregon. And I need to tell you about the most shocking discovery that has completely destroyed my relationship and my trust in the man I was about to marry, which is that I just found out from my fiance's mother that he is still legally married to his ex-wife, that he never actually got divorced like he told me, and that he has been lying to me about his marital status for the entire 3 years we've been together. And now I'm realizing that our engagement is a complete fraud, that I can't legally marry him even if I wanted to, and that everything he's told me about his past relationship has been a lie. And I don't know if I can ever trust him again, or if I even want to continue this relationship. I'm going to tell you this entire story from the beginning, because there's so much deception and so many lies that you need to understand the full scope of what happened. My fiance's name is Derek. He's 34 years old, and we met 3 years ago through a dating app. When Derek and I first started talking, he told me that he had been married before, that he had gotten divorced 2 years prior, and that he was ready to move on and find love again. I appreciated Derek's honesty about his past. Like, I thought it was mature that he was upfront about having been married before, and I didn't see it as a red flag because lots of people get divorced and go on to have healthy relationships. Derek told me that his marriage had ended because he and his ex-wife had grown apart, that they wanted different things in life, and that they had mutually decided to end the marriage. Derek said that the divorce had been amicable, that there was no drama or fighting, and that he and his ex-wife had simply signed the papers and moved on with their lives. Derek said that he didn't have any contact with his ex-wife anymore, that they had completely separated their lives, and that he was ready for a fresh start. When Derek and I started dating, everything seemed perfect, like he was charming and attentive and romantic, and he made me feel special. Derek would take me on thoughtful dates. He would send me sweet text messages throughout the day, and he would tell me how much he cared about me. I fell in love with Derek quickly, and I felt like I had finally found the right person. After we had been dating for about 6 months, Derek told me that he loved me, and I said it back, and our relationship became more serious. We started spending most of our time together. We met each other's friends, and we talked about our future together. Derek would talk about wanting to get married again someday, about wanting to have children, and about building a life with someone he loved. About a year into our relationship, I started bringing up the idea of meeting Derek's family, like I had introduced Derek to my parents and my siblings, and they all really liked him. But Derek kept making excuses about why I couldn't meet his family. Derek would say that his parents lived far away, that they were busy, or that the timing wasn't right. I was a little hurt that Derek seemed reluctant to introduce me to his family, but I tried not to push too hard because I didn't want to seem needy or demanding. Derek assured me that it wasn't about me, that his family was just complicated, and that he would introduce us when the time was right. After about a year and a half of dating, Derek finally agreed to introduce me to his family, and we planned a trip to visit his parents who live in Seattle. I was nervous, but excited. Like I wanted to make a good impression, and I wanted Derek's family to like me. When we arrived at Derek's parents' house, his mother answered the door, and she seemed surprised to see me, like Derek hadn't told her that he was bringing someone. Derek's mom was polite, but seemed a little cold, and I got the sense that she wasn't thrilled about me being there. During dinner, Derek's mom asked me questions about myself, about my job, about my family, and I tried to be friendly and engaging, but I noticed that Derek seemed tense and uncomfortable, like he was on edge the whole time. Derek's dad was friendly enough, but Derek's mom seemed to be scrutinizing me, and it made me feel unwelcome. At one point during the visit, Derek's mom made a comment about how Derek had always been impulsive with relationships, and Derek got defensive and told his mom to stop. I didn't think too much of it at the time. I just figured that Derek's mom was being overprotective, or that she was still attached to Derek's ex-wife. After that visit, Derek seemed relieved to leave, and when I asked him if everything was okay with his mom, Derek said that his mom could be difficult sometimes, that she had a hard time accepting that he had moved on from his ex-wife, and that I shouldn't take it personally. I tried to be understanding, but I felt like there was something Derek wasn't telling me, like there was some tension with his family that he wasn't being honest about. But Derek assured me that everything was fine, and I believed him because I trusted him. About 2 years into our relationship, Derek proposed to me, and I was so happy. Like I felt like all of my dreams were coming true. Derek proposed during a romantic weekend getaway. He got down on one knee. He told me that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with me, and he gave me a beautiful engagement ring. I said yes immediately, and I was so excited to start planning our wedding and our future together. We told our families about the engagement, and my family was thrilled. But Derek's family seemed less enthusiastic. Derek's mom congratulated us, but there was something in her tone that seemed off, like she wasn't genuinely happy for us. I mentioned to Derek that his mom didn't seem very excited about our engagement, and Derek said that his mom was just like that she wasn't very expressive with her emotions, and that I shouldn't read too much into it. I tried to let it go, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Derek's mom knew something that I didn't. We started planning our wedding, and we set a date for 6 months from the engagement. I was excited to plan the wedding. I started looking at venues, I started thinking about dresses, and I started making lists of guests to invite. Derek seemed excited too, but I noticed that whenever I brought up the legal aspects of getting married, like getting a marriage license, Derek would change the subject or say that we would deal with that later. I thought it was strange that Derek seemed to be avoiding talking about the marriage license, but I figured that maybe he was just overwhelmed with all of the wedding planning, or that he didn't think the legal stuff was as important as the ceremony and the celebration. About 3 months ago, I was talking to my friend who had recently gotten married, and she was telling me about the process of getting a marriage license. And she mentioned that you need to bring certain documents like your birth certificate and proof that you're not currently married. I realized that I didn't know what documents Derek would need to bring. Did he need to bring his divorce decree to prove that he was legally divorced? I asked Derek about it, and I said, hey, when we go to get our marriage license, do you need to bring your divorce papers? And Derek said yes, he would need to bring them, but that he had them and it wouldn't be a problem. I said, okay, great. I just wanted to make sure we had everything we needed. But then I started thinking about it more, and I realized that in the 3 years we had been together, I had never actually seen Derek's divorce papers. He had told me he was divorced, but I had never seen any proof of it. I felt guilty for even thinking about it. I felt like I was being paranoid or untrusting, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. I decided to bring it up to Derek again, and I said, hey, I know this might sound weird, but I've never actually seen your divorce papers, and I was just wondering if I could see them, just so I know what we need to bring when we get our marriage license. Derek got defensive, and he said, why do you need to see them? Don't you trust me? And I said, of course I trust you. I just want to make sure we have everything in order for the wedding. Derek said that his divorce papers were in storage, that he would have to dig them out, and that he would show them to me later. I said okay, but I felt like Derek was being evasive, and it made me more suspicious. A few weeks went by, and Derek never showed me the divorce papers, and every time I brought it up, he would make an excuse or change the subject. I started to get really worried. What if Derek wasn't actually divorced? What if he had been lying to me this whole time? I didn't want to believe that Derek would lie to me about something so important, but I also couldn't ignore the red flags. I decided that I needed to find out the truth, so I started doing some research online about how to verify if someone is divorced. I found out that divorce records are public records, and that you can search for them online or request them from the county courthouse. I decided to search for Derek's divorce records online, and I found a website where you could search for divorce records in Washington State, which is where Derek said he had gotten divorced. I searched for Derek's name, and I couldn't find any record of a divorce. I tried different variations of his name. I tried searching by date, but I couldn't find anything. I started to panic, maybe the records weren't online, or maybe I was searching in the wrong place. I decided to call the county courthouse in Seattle where Derek said he had gotten divorced, and I asked them how I could get a copy of a divorce decree. The clerk told me that I could request a copy by providing the names of the parties and the approximate date of the divorce. I gave them Derek's name and his ex-wife's name, which Derek had told me, and I said that the divorce would have been finalized about 5 years ago. The clerk searched their records, and after a few minutes, she came back and said that she couldn't find any record of a divorce between those two people. I felt like I was going to be sick, this couldn't be happening. Derek had to be divorced. He had told me he was divorced. I asked the clerk if it was possible that the divorce had been filed in a different county, and she said yes, it was possible, but that if Derek had lived in Seattle at the time, it would most likely have been filed in King County. I thanked the clerk and hung up, and I just sat there trying to process what I had just learned. Either Derek had lied about where he got divorced, or he had lied about being divorced at all. I didn't know what to do, I didn't want to confront Derek without being absolutely sure, but I also couldn't just ignore this. I decided to reach out to Derek's mother, because I figured that she would know the truth about whether Derek was actually divorced. I was nervous to contact her because Derek's mom and I didn't have a close relationship, but I felt like I had no other choice. I sent Derek's mom a message on Facebook and I said, "Hi, I hope you're doing well. I have a question that I was hoping you could help me with. It's about Derek's divorce, and I just wanted to verify some information for our marriage license." I tried to keep the message casual, like I didn't want to alarm her or make it seem like I was accusing Derek of anything. Derek's mom responded a few hours later, and her message said, "Rachel, I think we need to talk. Can you call me?" My heart started racing, and I knew that whatever Derek's mom was about to tell me was going to be bad. I called Derek's mom, and when she answered, she sounded serious and concerned. She said, "Rachel, I need to tell you something, and I'm sorry that you're finding out this way. But Derek is not divorced. He is still legally married to his ex-wife." I felt like the world had stopped, like I couldn't breathe. And I said, "What do you mean he's still married? Derek told me he got divorced 5 years ago." Derek's mom said, "I know that's what Derek has been telling people, but it's not true. Derek and his wife separated 5 years ago. But they never actually filed for divorce. They're still legally married." I was in complete shock, and I said, "Does Derek know this?" And Derek's mom said, "Yes. Derek knows. He's always known. He just hasn't been honest about it." I asked why Derek would lie about something like this, and Derek's mom said that Derek has a pattern of avoiding difficult situations, that he probably thought that if he told you he was still married, you wouldn't want to be with him, so he lied. I asked Derek's mom why she didn't tell me sooner, and she said that she had tried to hint at it when we first met, but that Derek had asked her not to say anything, and she didn't feel like it was her place to interfere in Derek's relationship. But Derek's mom said that when she found out that we were engaged and planning a wedding, she felt like she had to tell me the truth because she didn't want me to go through with a wedding that wasn't even legal. I thanked Derek's mom for telling me, and I hung up the phone, and I just sat there in complete shock. Derek had been lying to me for 3 years. Our entire relationship was based on a lie, and our engagement was a fraud. I couldn't believe that the man I loved, the man I was planning to marry, had been deceiving me this entire time. I didn't know what to do. Like, part of me wanted to confront Derek immediately, but part of me was so hurt and angry that I didn't even want to see him. I decided to wait until I had calmed down a little bit before I talked to Derek, because I wanted to be able to have a rational conversation and not just scream at him. That night, when Derek came home from work, I told him that we needed to talk, and Derek could tell from my tone that something was wrong. I said, "Derek, I talked to your mother today and she told me something very interesting. She told me that you're still legally married to your ex-wife." Derek's face went pale and he just stood there staring at me, not saying anything. I said, "Is it true? Are you still married?" And Derek finally said, "Yes, it's true. I'm still legally married." I felt like I had been punched in the gut, like even though I had already heard it from Derek's mom. Hearing Derek confirm it made it real. I said, "Derek, you told me you were divorced. You've been telling me for 3 years that you were divorced. Why did you lie to me?" Derek started making excuses. He said that he and his ex-wife had been separated for so long that he considered himself divorced, that they had completely separate lives, and that he didn't think the legal status mattered. I said, "Of course the legal status matters. You can't marry me if you're still married to someone else. Did you even think about that?" Derek said that he had been planning to file for divorce before our wedding, that he was going to take care of it, and that I didn't need to worry about it. I said, "Derek, you've had 3 years to file for divorce. Why haven't you done it yet?" And Derek said that he kept putting it off, that it seemed like a hassle, and that he didn't think it was urgent. I was furious. I said, "Derek, you proposed to me, you asked me to marry you, knowing that you couldn't legally marry me. What were you planning to do? Were you just going to go through with a fake wedding and hope I never found out?" Derek said that he was going to file for divorce before the wedding, that he had every intention of making our marriage legal, and that he was sorry for not being honest with me. But I didn't believe him. Like, if Derek had really intended to get divorced, he would have done it already. He wouldn't have waited until 3 months before our wedding. I asked Derek why he lied to me in the first place, why he told me he was divorced when he wasn't, and Derek said that when we first started dating, he was embarrassed to admit that he was still legally married, that he thought I would judge him or not want to date him, so he lied. Derek said that once he had lied about it, he didn't know how to tell me the truth, and the longer he waited, the harder it became to come clean. Derek said that he loved me, that he wanted to marry me, and that he was planning to fix everything. But I didn't care about his excuses. Like, Derek had lied to me for 3 years. He had let me plan a wedding that couldn't legally happen, and he had completely betrayed my trust. I told Derek that I needed time to think, and that I wanted him to leave the apartment for a few days. Derek begged me not to make him leave. He said that we could work through this, that he would file for divorce immediately, and that we could still get married. But I told Derek that I didn't know if I wanted to marry him anymore, that I didn't know if I could trust him after he had lied to me for so long. Derek finally left, and I just broke down crying. Like I felt so betrayed and so stupid for not seeing the signs earlier. I started thinking about all of the times over the past 3 years when Derek had been evasive or had avoided talking about his past. And I realized that there had been so many red flags that I had ignored. I called my best friend Emma, and I told her everything, and Emma was horrified. Emma said that what Derek did was unforgivable, that lying about being divorced is a huge betrayal, and that I should end the relationship. Emma said that if Derek was willing to lie about something this important, what else was he lying about? I started thinking about that, like, what else had Derek lied about? Did he lie about other things in his past? Was his ex-wife really an ex, or were they still in contact? I realized that I didn't actually know anything about Derek's marriage or his ex-wife, because everything I knew came from Derek, and Derek was a liar. I decided that I needed to find out more about Derek's situation, so I did some more research online, and I found Derek's ex-wife on social media. Her name is Lauren, and from her social media profiles, it looked like she was still living in Seattle, and she appeared to be single. I debated whether I should reach out to Lauren, like I didn't want to cause drama or insert myself into their situation, but I also felt like I deserved to know the truth about what was going on. I decided to send Lauren a message, and I introduced myself and explained that I was engaged to Derek, and that I had just found out that he was still legally married to her. I asked Lauren if she could tell me what the situation was, like were they planning to get divorced? Were they still in contact? And I apologized for reaching out, but said that I needed to understand what was going on. Lauren responded the next day, and her message was eye-opening. Lauren said that she and Derek had separated 5 years ago after a tumultuous marriage, that Derek had been controlling and manipulative, and that she had been the one to leave him. Lauren said that after they separated, she had asked Derek multiple times to file for divorce, but Derek kept refusing. Lauren said that Derek told her that he didn't want to get divorced because he didn't want to deal with dividing their assets and because he still hoped that they would get back together. Lauren said that she had eventually given up on trying to get Derek to file for divorce, and that she had just moved on with her life and considered herself separated. Lauren said that she had no idea that Derek was engaged to someone else, and that she was shocked to hear that Derek had been telling people he was divorced. Lauren said that if I wanted to marry Derek, I would need to get him to finally file for divorce. But she warned me that Derek was not a good person, that he was a liar and a manipulator, and that I should reconsider marrying him. I thanked Lauren for her honesty, and I felt sick reading her message. Like everything she said about Derek being controlling and manipulative resonated with me. I started thinking about my relationship with Derek, and I realized that there had been times when Derek had been controlling, like he would get upset if I made plans without him. He would question me about where I was going and who I was with, and he would sometimes make me feel guilty for spending time with my friends. I had always brushed off Derek's behavior as him just being protective or caring, but now I was seeing it in a different light, like maybe Derek was controlling and manipulative, and I had just been making excuses for him. I started thinking about the fact that Derek had refused to divorce Lauren, even though she had asked him to multiple times, and I wondered why Derek would do that. Was it because he still had feelings for Lauren? Was it because he wanted to control her? Or was it just because Derek was too lazy or avoidant to deal with the divorce process? I realized that regardless of the reason, the fact that Derek had refused to get divorced for 5 years was a huge red flag, and it made me question whether Derek was even capable of being in a healthy, honest relationship. I've been staying with Emma for the past few days, and I've been trying to figure out what I want to do. Derek has been calling and texting me constantly, begging me to talk to him, saying that he's going to file for divorce immediately, and that he wants to fix our relationship. But I don't know if I want to fix our relationship. Like Derek lied to me for 3 years. He let me plan a wedding that couldn't legally happen. And he has a history of being controlling and manipulative with his ex-wife. Those are not things that can be fixed with an apology and a promise to do better. I've been thinking about our engagement and about all of the time and money I've put into planning our wedding, and I feel so stupid and so angry. I've already put down deposits on a venue, on a caterer, on a photographer, and now I'm going to have to cancel everything and lose all of that money. I've been thinking about telling my family what happened, and I'm dreading it because I know they're going to be disappointed and they're going to have a lot of questions. My parents really liked Derek, and they were excited about the wedding, and now I have to tell them that Derek has been lying to me and that the wedding is off. I've been thinking about Derek's mother and about how she knew the truth this whole time and didn't tell me until I asked her directly. Part of me is grateful that she finally told me the truth, but part of me is angry that she didn't tell me sooner, like she could have saved me from 3 years of being lied to. I've been thinking about what Lauren said about Derek being controlling and manipulative, and I've been reflecting on my relationship with Derek, and I'm realizing that there were a lot of warning signs that I ignored. Derek would sometimes gaslight me, like he would deny saying things that I knew he had said, or he would make me feel like I was being crazy or paranoid when I questioned him about things. Derek would also isolate me from my friends, like he would get upset when I made plans with them, or he would make me feel guilty for not spending enough time with him. I had always thought that Derek just loved me and wanted to spend time with me, but now I'm realizing that it was a form of control. I've been going to therapy to help me process everything, and my therapist has been really helpful in helping me see that Derek's behavior was emotionally abusive and that I'm better off without him. My therapist has explained that lying about something as fundamental as your marital status is a form of fraud, and that it's a serious betrayal of trust. My therapist has also helped me understand that I'm not stupid for believing Derek's lies, that Derek was deliberately deceiving me, and that it's not my fault that I didn't see through his lies sooner. My therapist has said that people who are skilled liars are very good at making their lies seem believable, and that it's normal to trust the person you love. I've been thinking about what I want to do moving forward, and I've decided that I'm going to end my relationship with Derek. I can't be with someone who lied to me for 3 years, who let me plan a wedding that couldn't legally happen, and who has a history of being controlling and manipulative. I called Derek and told him that our engagement is off, that I'm ending our relationship, and that I don't want to see him or talk to him anymore. Derek was devastated, and he begged me to reconsider, but I told him that my decision is final, that what he did is unforgivable, and that I deserve to be with someone who is honest and trustworthy. Derek tried to argue with me. He said that he was going to file for divorce, that he was going to change, and that he loved me. But I told Derek that it's too late, that he had 3 years to be honest with me, and he chose to lie, and that I can't trust him anymore. I've started the process of canceling our wedding, and it's been painful and expensive, like I'm losing thousands of dollars in deposits. But I know that it's better to lose that money now than to marry someone who has been lying to me. I've told my family what happened, and they've been supportive. Like, my parents are disappointed that the wedding is off, but they're proud of me for standing up for myself and ending the relationship. My mom has been especially supportive, like she's been helping me cancel the wedding vendors, and she's been there to listen when I need to talk. I've been thinking about the future and about what I want my life to look like, and I know that I want to be with someone who is honest, someone who respects me, and someone who would never lie to me about something as important as their marital status. I've been thinking about dating again eventually, and I'm scared because I don't know if I'll be able to trust someone new after what Derek did to me. But I'm also hopeful because I know that not everyone is like Derek, and I know that there are good, honest men out there who would never deceive me the way Derek did. I've been thinking about the lessons I've learned from this experience, and there are so many. I've learned to trust my instincts because I had a feeling that something was off with Derek's story about his divorce, and I was right. I've learned to verify important information. Like, if someone tells you they're divorced, it's okay to ask to see the divorce papers. I've learned that if someone is evasive or defensive when you ask them questions about their past, that's a red flag, and you should investigate further. And I've learned that some lies are unforgivable, and that it's okay to walk away from a relationship when someone has betrayed your trust in such a fundamental way. I've been thinking about other women who might be in similar situations, who might be engaged to someone who lied about being divorced, or who might be dating someone who is hiding important information about their past, and I want to tell them to trust their instincts, to ask questions, to verify information, and to not be afraid to walk away if something doesn't feel right. I want to tell them that they deserve to be with someone who is honest with them, who respects them, and who would never lie to them about something as important as their marital status. And I want to tell them that it's better to find out the truth before you get married than to find out after, even if it means canceling a wedding and losing money. Thank you for reading my story, and if you've been through something similar, if you found out that your partner lied about being divorced, if you discovered that your partner was hiding important information about their past, if you had to cancel a wedding because of lies and deception, or if you've been in a relationship with someone who was controlling and manipulative, I would love to hear how you dealt with it and where you are now. I'm still processing everything that happened, still healing from the betrayal, still figuring out how to move forward, but I'm grateful that I found out the truth before I married Derek, and I'm hopeful about building a future with someone who is honest and trustworthy.